also put there underneath, in parentheses, I always put z-scores. Where's 90 go? Because that's what I'm interested in. But let me ask this question. Hopefully this is a weird question for some of you. Where does this go? Where does this go? How is that represented in the picture? I didn't really make sure this happened. But can anyone tell me, if I were to draw that picture exactly correct, what would this do for me in the picture? What would it do? No. The shape of the picture. You could do this. If that would have been 5 instead, how would the picture have changed?
Doesn't it get like slimmer?
Yes.
It gets like taller.
Taller, somebody like just smooshing so that goes up, right? Not exactly like popping a pimple, but it goes, right? You guys with me? You can't put 31.7 on that picture because that is to what tells you how wide or skinny that sucker is. But I'm not going to make you, when you draw normal, you can always draw the exact same picture. It's just a quick visual anchor to work with. But officially, if that was 80, that should be like, whoa, right? Or if it's 2, it would be, wow, tiny. So that standardization tells me how spread out the data is. Okay, maybe. All right. So I always have somebody somehow put that on the picture and it messes them up. I'm like, no. So 90 is going to be down here. So what's my next step before I can get this probability question answered? Z-score, I like it. So take that raw score, make it a z-score. How do I make this into a z-score? Formula. What's the formula? Huh? Yeah, take away the mean, divide by standard deviation, I like it. So 90 minus 114 divided by 31.7. And then whatever that is. So I get that. How do I, now here's what I always have somebody, even if the answer is negative, they put negative 0.7571 and then they circle it. Okay, so many props. First off is negative. That's your first clue that that's not the probability. In fact, if you tell yourself what you're doing, that's a z-score. So I haven't answered the question yet, right? I haven't changed it into a percentage yet. So really, how should I write this? Because I want to use the chart, and the chart only goes out to how many places? 2. And when I look that bad boy up, so for those of you who just got this chart, oh shit. This chart tells you the area, which is the same thing as the probability of something happening below that z-score. That's all it does. So thank God this question is all about less than 90. So when I look up negative 0.76, negative 0.76, I get 0.2236, I think it says. 2236. 2236, Jeff. So you can either write that as 22.36% if you want to. Is that cool? You guys all right? Okay. And then what about this problem? So let's say the same idea. Still the mean is 114. It's still normal. The standard deviation is still 31.7. Can somebody find P 41? So what I really love is You guys kind of get what I mean when I put this down? I mean, that's the general flow for this kind of problem, right? They ask about raw scores, minutes, length of a dog's tail, whatever. And then I got to convert them into a z-score, then I can look at the percentage as long as it's normal. And the chart tells you you can only use the chart if it's normal. I like it. So, if they, in this case, what is 41? What is it physically? Yeah, it's the area, it's a percentage. So they're telling me this, and they're asking me that. So I've got to go exactly backwards. I've got to look the percentage up in the chart, get the z-score, and then I can go back to a raw score. So if I draw this, can you guys, where would that P41 be? Yeah, it's got to be over here somewhere, right? So I've got to figure out what that is. So this is going to be 0.41. I'll always put the area up top. 0.41 looks like a z-score. It's so evil. But we know it's an area. So how do I find the z-score that goes with that area? See how I know it's negative z-score, right? This is below the mean. Where do I look? Do I look here at 0.41?
In the area.
Beautiful. This is going to be where the percentages are. So the closest I get to 0.41 looks to be down here somewhere. What's closest to 0.41? Yeah, I see what you're saying. But 0.409, formula 409, that's the closest. So that would be a z-score negative 0.23, like you said. I like it. So this z, kind of a better way to say that physically is, how far below the mean, because right at the mean, what percentage is below? The mean, of course, cuts it in half. So below the mean is 50%, right? So how far down do I have to go until I make it only 41%? So I've got to go almost a quarter of a step down. Do you guys see that? If I go 0.23 steps down, then I do end up with just 41%. If I went further, I'd have smaller percentage. That's why there's a connection between the z-score and the percentage below it. Because the further I go out, the smaller my tail gets. That is the official name of this, by the way. That's the tail. I like it. All right. I got a z-score, but that's not where I stop. I need to make that into a raw score. All right, so again, this is bowling scores. I want to know what's it take to get into the 41st percentile. So how do I convert that z-score back into an x? So I've got this formula, but that's if I know everything except z. Now I know z, but I don't know x. So yesterday we did this. Another formula you can have on your sheet. This formula actually comes from section 2.7. To be honest, you had to do some work. They didn't put the formula there, but you had to do work like this. The test question about the drinking beer, and I was like, what amount is 2.37 below the mean or something? That's this formula. But you can still do, you don't need another formula though to do it. So what do we know? I know the mean. I know this, I know the standard deviation. I know the z-score is negative 0.23, and I know the standard deviation is 31.7, so then I can figure out what bowling score would represent the 41st percentile of my scores. So whatever the hell that is. It's like 106, I don't know. Yeah, it's more like 107, I don't know, somewhere in there.
106.
106.71? Okay. I like it. So 41% of the time I would bowl less than that. I haven't bowled in a long time, so it's probably better to be honest. Because then I don't even try, and then I get more pins now. Okay. So that was not enough if you weren't here yesterday. It just wasn't. But I've got a video up. You can come see me in my office to catch you up. I just want to make sure everybody's on the same page before we start tweaking this process a little bit. I think before we get into that, you guys want to take a break now? Yeah, let's do that. I get a sense that might be a good idea. Come back, 5, 10, 15, 20. Come back, quarter past.